Hello, fellow film geek.
Hello.
Dave Glass here. Well, you must be a bit of a film geek if you're interested in this stuff. Anyway, so we're going to have a little stroll through the fields of work involved with the Billy Bevan films on this set. Don't get me wrong, it's a labour of love, but sometimes you do wonder if there's any hair left to pull out. And this particular set also grew along the way to 19 films. And each one of those required some sort of restoration work, and some more than others. So the journey began with getting each film from the various archives and the collectors. And once you've done that, they have to be individually prepared for the musicians to do their thing. And the first thing is speed correction. Have the films been transferred a little bit too fast or a bit too slow for the eyeballs to take in afterwards? And most of the films required a little bit of that, of some sort or other. Here's Calling Hubby's Bluff from I, which needed speeding up a bit. And another thing to point out is that a third of this collection were actually lost films that exist only in fragmentary form from various sources, so they had to be reconstructed and in some cases reconstructed with some newly found footage. Now, I could do a whole video essay on this process alone. Suffice it to say, it's a big jigsaw puzzle. Obviously, you'd have to start with identifying where these fragments of films are from. Are they a piece of the jigsaw puzzle you need for your particular jigsaw? And then you have to source the best looking material, and then acquiring the synopsis and the intertitle information from the Senate archives in LA, and then you knit the films back together again. And talking of intertitles, most of the films we were using were foreign prints, so they obviously needed new titles to be made. In fact, of the 19 films we had, only 3 had original titles that we could use. And one of those, Hubby's Quiet Little Game, had flash titles.
Dave, what are flash titles?
Oh, well, they're used when exporting a film, and they leave one frame in for the overseas distributor to replicate in their own particular language.
Oh, thank you.
Don't mention it. So Emil, who helped us with the Lupino Lane set, did a great job of creating the templates for the Senate titles we needed. I'd acquired all of the intertitle information from the Senate archives stored at Ampas.
Thank you, Christine.
And then made all of the title cards. 495 of them. Thank you, dear. That was the wife. And some films were a bit more quirky. I mean, for example, the early Billy Rhodes comedy we included from I, Somebody's Widow, that came with Dutch titles, but I was able to view a British copy of the same film and then recreate the titles using other films from that period and that film company too. So anyway, once that was all done, they were ready to have music added. So those files were flung all over the world, and while Meg, John, Ethan and Donald were composing, the nitty-gritty restoration work began. So most films required some sort of stabilising, some more than others, and that has to be done scene by scene, otherwise it can look a little bit psychedelic. Grading needed to be done on some films because most of the archives do provide a raw scan which helps preserve the detail, but that then means that the films have to be regraded back again, and that has to be done scene by scene for the best results, so it takes a while. Then there's the dirt and the scratches to be removed. Now, on some films it was minimal. For example, I'd watched Wandering Wastelands a few times and realised there was this sort of like dark patch top right hand corner of the screen on some of the outdoor scenes. And it wasn't a cloud, it was some sort of imperfection printed into the film. So I managed to mask it out most of the time. In Hubby's Quiet Little Game, there was this ruddy grey hair in the in the top right hand corner of the screen. And we managed to get rid of that, but you can find yourself going down a never-ending wormhole sometimes, so you have to draw the line somewhere.
Thanks!
And then the 16mm print of The Quack Doctor was in fairly poor shape throughout. I mean, it looks like it had been kicked around on the floor for a bit, so felt that needed a little bit more scrubbing and attention done to it, just to make it more of a pleasant viewing experience, especially as it's one of the rare Paramount comedies.
Very true.
And finally, I made an interesting discovery when working on a couple of these films, which I'd like to share with you now. As you may know, most of the studios in those days companies shot their films with 2 cameras so that they had a domestic version and another print that they could use for overseas use. And when you view these prints today, one can expect to see the same scenes but shot at a slightly different angle due to the 2 different camera positions. However, when compiling a rough edit for Lobster, I realised that certain shots were completely different, as you can see here. See? Not sure why. Maybe you have a theory. All fascinating stuff, innit? Anyway, thought you'd like to see that, and thanks again for your support for this collection of comedy. I mean, Billy Bevan, I think, was one of the main catalysts for my interest in this stuff. Because when I was a kid, his face appearing on the TV meant that some mad fun was about to happen. So we sincerely hope that you've had some fun watching these films and enjoyed the mad antics of Billy and all of the other members of the Max Sennett Company. Here's to Billy Bevan.
Billy Bevan.
No, it's Billy Bevan! Thanks again. Bye.